Welcome to Section 2, Virtual Machine Administration. In this section, we will review VM Lifecycle, provisioning, deployment, and end of life. This section will go into details of VM Lifecycle, VM maximums, VM design files, and managing VMs. We will be looking at VMware Lifecycle. VMware provides a number of deployment options to deploy a VM and add it to the virtual infrastructure. Some of the options include deploying a VM from scratch and adding operating system and VMware tools, cloning a virtual machine from an existing VM, using a template to deploy a virtual machine, converting physical server to virtual machine using P2V, and deploying from OVF, Open Virtual Format. VM's lifecycle typically begins with the selecting virtual machine configuration, which is usually based on the application workload and standup. By the enterprise, virtual machine is deployed using post-deployment configuration changes. A virtual machine is then introduced into the environment to run production workloads. During this time, there may be upgrades, configuration changes, including modifying disk, memory, CPU. Once the VM is no longer useful, it has reached end of life, it can be decommissioned and resources can be reused. The VM lifecycle typically consists of three main stages: deploy, operations, and end of life. For deploy, we have looked at some of the deployment options in the earlier slide, and the vSphere client GUI shows customization, including options and resources to manage those deployment options. The operation stage, once the VM is running actively and is executing application workloads, CPU, memory, disk, network, and storage resources can be monitored, and those statistics collected in conjunction with vSphere and vSphere client. Once the VM reaches end of life, the vSphere client can be used to remove it from inventory and decommission it and reuse its resources. A quick summary: we looked at virtual machine lifecycle from deployment, configuration, operations, and decommissioning stage. We looked at virtual machine deployment options: new, template, clone, P2V, OVF, and finally, reuse of infrastructure resources once the VM is decommissioned. Typically, the VM and CPU are returned to the resource pool. However, the disk may be reused depending on the use case.